All right, so we're talking about the lymphatic system, and we're talking about the pharyngeal tonsil as part of lymphatic system. Moving on over here, and we move into the thoracic duct, right? This is one area of the thoracic duct. These are known as axillary nodes. And again, all part of this lymphatic system that we're taking a look at. These are the lymphatic collecting vessels, and we're going to be talking about other parts once we get into the lecture. We'll be discussing the ducts and the duct system. You can kind of think of it as a HVAC kind of duct system or air duct system. You can kind of think of it like that. These are known as your cervical nodes. And again, each one is a lymph node. Sometimes areas here of the axillary node, hopefully we'll go lower in our model. We'll take a look at that as we get lower in the leg area. But sometimes area under here, and near groin area become inflamed during times of infection. That can happen. So as we move back here, look how far our thoracic duct comes, right? Origination over here, moving all the way down. So that is our thoracic duct. Now, right here, here's what we would have, heart area. And we're looking here, this is the tracheobronchial nodes. And can you guys hear that?
Yes.
Okay. So the tracheobronchial nodes. So this is our thoracic duct. Now here we have the mesenteric nodes. And here's the area where I was thinking about in terms of sometimes we find the iliac nodes, but areas here, I don't think this is going to highlight it, areas where you get inflammation sometimes in infection. So that is one of the reasons why when we go back up here, doctors kind of check nodes out around throat. That's why they're doing that. And look at all these nodes. So that's why sometimes they come in and as they do this, they check, because that's one of the places where you're going to learn as we go into the lymphatics. I'm going to see how it's very interconnected with the immune system. So we check. You could do that with your loved ones too. If they're feeling sick, you can even feel that. Sometimes it gets a little swollen along this area. Now, again, that's one could be tonsils, but really tonsils, you kind of have to go, and kind of look, right? Here we have other nodes, other types of nodes, not to be confused with tonsils. So that's why some people, they check that out. That's where that stems from. So here we're going to take a look at areas of thymus, and thyroid gland, right? So here's being the thyroid gland, here being thymus, thyroid, thymus. So I know they sound very similar, so let's try not to confuse them. And of course, we're looking at heart in terms of anterior view, right? And we can see that there are, look, we have a little lymph node here is going on. Lymph node. So
We can't see.
We can't see, sir.
All right. Okay. So here we're looking at an anterior view of heart. Can you see this one now?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So we also have little lymph nodes here, and we have the collecting vessels there. We have to have those collecting vessels. They just can't be lymph nodes by themselves. They must have collecting vessels that also connects them. So the collecting vessels. Lymphatic collecting vessels. Now, let's take a look in terms of adrenal glands and spleen, right? So we're looking at adrenal glands. Come on.
Spleen.
So we have our spleen,
Adrenal glands.
adrenal glands, all right? So our spleen and the adrenal glands. Now notice it doesn't show. These are right here, kidneys, and right above them, this area right here, the adrenal glands. And we went and we discussed this area. We discussed it in great detail, and we really kind of went into this. So these are adrenal glands. So now it's kind of coming back into play. As I mentioned before, this axilla or armpit area, infection. This is one area that ends up the axillary nodes, and these are the collecting vessels. See those lymphatic collecting vessels sometimes appear to get swollen during infection. Now moving on into the lymphatic system of the lower limbs, right? These
Inguinal nodes. Inguinal nodes.
inguinal nodes, these are the ones that are also typical having inflammation during infection, usually this area right here. Now, again, these are going to be kind of long here. These lymphatic collecting vessels, fairly long, kind of like the lymphatic collecting vessels that we saw up here, but this is going to be longer. So very important area in terms of also infection that sometimes results in inflammation. All right, let me stop. So those are the models. Like if we were in lab, I would have gone through a run with you, showing you the different anatomical models, showing you the different types of lymph nodes, and then a lab exam. I like to do pictures in terms of versus walking around. And the reason for it is because pictures are just the same as a model. The model gives you the hands-on, which is good, but I prefer exams to be actually on either canvas or paper somehow. And the reason for it is I used to it also like at a university, we used to do like everybody would do the rounds, like you would have a start in position, but always somebody kind of gets confused, and like let's say they start at number 13 and there's 50 items to identify. They may start at 13 and then they miss like 16, and instead of putting it on 16, they put it on 17. So everything that they go through the exam like has a trickle effect, and they're like, oh my God, I noticed that I missed 16, and have to like redo, and then I end up staying longer in lab. It's just a kind of a not a fun thing. So I like to just put it on paper and quiz students like that. Let's see. Let's move into, let's go. Let me see, what do they have for the quiz? Sorry, I'll go back. I'm lab practical. Let's see if their lab practical mimics some of the stuff that we just saw. Let's go in there. All right, we saw that. Yep. Sorry, let me try to maybe minimize so we can kind of get that in there for you guys. It's kind of hard. Yep. Spleen. Yep. 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 Yes. Yep. Yes. 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 Don't think we hit that one. Yes. All right. So their practical seems somewhat, and again, go through them all, right? Look what we have here. We always have our answers, right? So you can go back, practice them, practice them, practice them. We have all these, and it's your responsibility. I think that's what that was. That was the one where we didn't show that T lymphocyte. Huh, interesting. I don't know how we were supposed to see that. No, that was a T lymphocyte.
Sure.
Yes.
If you click on the little square plus sign, it will show you the image.
Okay. Yeah. Don't think that's a T lymphocyte right there. What did you guys think that is? What is that? Let's go back. Let me get out of here. I think that is incorrect. Let's go to the self-review. Hold on, I'm not sharing. Let me go. There we go. Yeah, that really threw me off. As far as I know, that is the thymus. And if I saw that correctly, it was saying T lymphocyte. So there could be an error there. You know, unless I made a mistake and it was pointing to something else. Anybody want to jump in on that one? Did I miss something in terms of that lab practical?
Sir, I've noticed that usually like the last 3 questions from the self-review, it's asking you a question of what like certain like organ or how do you say it? Like what's gonna help to produce this and that. It's not technically like just telling you what is highlighted. You know,
Oh,
asking
okay.
you a question.
Maybe I didn't read that question. I was just looking at the anatomical location. That could be it. That could have been it. So keep an eye on that. Now let's see. So make sure you go through those, okay? Make sure you go through those. And again, I've been looking at your lab grades. Most of you have been doing really good. I mean, I think there's a really easy way to do and practice them. Like Marty said, they even give you some questions. So this is the quiz, not the lab practical. Go through each one, go through your self-review, go through your quiz, go through the lab practical, and make sure you go through all of it. So maybe Marty's right. I was thinking it was saying this, which structures are highlighted. So I thought that one was saying which structures are highlighted. It could have been asking for a particular function. So that's what I want you guys to focus on. I'm gonna open that up. Make sure you start your review process, kind of just like we would do in lab. Actually, I would talk a little bit more in a real lab and do a little more, way more rounds. And I leave kind of like half the lab for students to kind of just practice. So they're kind of shorter here. And then we do activities like coming to the board and doing things like certain training stuff, techniques that we do, and then we do competitions and yeah, we do a lot of different fun things. So it's just different kind of online. So I am limited in terms of a lab, but I do appreciate that I do have that resource to look at those models, and some of them look really good. I must admit, some of them, sometimes Pal throws some models are a little not so good. But nonetheless, it's a good resource. So again, for the lab exam in Pearson, after this lecture, when I go in there, I am going, since it's fresh in my mind in terms of the images, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start selecting the images and questions that pertain to the things that we just talked about. So make sure that that you go through the self-review, make sure you go through your quiz, and make sure you go through the practical. If you go through those three things, it's gonna help you greatly so much in your lab exam in Pearson, okay? So make sure you go through those things. Now, I am going to review in the next, once I do that and I open that up, since it's fresh in my mind, and once I do that, I'm gonna go to the exam of blood vessels and look over that real quickly before I decide to open it up, okay? So you will have your exam today. That's your Canvas lecture exam of blood vessels, all right? Because your blood vessels one was extended to Monday, all right? So keep that in mind. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those watching this, we'll have a wonderful rest of your day. Please use the rest of this lab time to, again, use it for your review. And if you have the rest of the time off, review it, right? Make some notes and then knock it out tomorrow. Take a little bit of time, 30 minutes max. It doesn't take more than 30 minutes to do these exams, lab exams on PAL, you know. Now the lab exams I would write, maybe, yeah, I would give you some more time for those because those were a lot more questions. But, you know, we're going to use PAL for the rest. That way we have a nice hybrid of my exams and give you some exposure to somebody else's kinds of exams in terms of Pearson exams and what they do, just to give you a different feel for different stuff. You may take a pathology class, and for your RM program, they may, if I remember correctly, Pearson has a pathology course. So you may be using these labs. So I wanted you to get some exposure. You may go in an LVN class, a program, you may have to take something on Pearson in terms of maybe some lab practicals. So I wanted to give you a little flavor, a little taste of it, so you can, if someone, they bring that up, because Pearson is a popular program. It is a popular thing. So also remember, I am going to send you an announcement and kind of an assignment in terms of, I want to know what you think about Pearson. Remember when we had that little chat in terms of what Pearson is? I'm gonna try to do that today before my lab comes in. So I got my work cut out for me. Got a lot on my to-do list and hope I'll knock all of them out before 9 p.m. So enjoy the rest of your day and we will chat soon. Okay, guys? Be safe and take care. Bye-bye.